Better Call Saul Season 4 Episode 2, Breathe, opens with Gus's men sneaking into the hospital to do a checkup on Hector. Can you imagine two mystery men doing a checkup on you in the dark that you don't know? Obviously, you know Hector isn't at least visually aware they're there, but man, that is creepy. So we learn from Gus's men that Hector is no longer in a coma, but he's still unresponsive, and that his condition is stable. And the key is here, there is no way of knowing if he'll wake up and understand what is going on around him. And Gus is livid at this. And Gus is like, I decide what Hector deserves. No one else does. So he almost doesn't want Hector to completely lose it or die in any case, because he wants to serve Hector revenge his way. He wants the honor of doing that. He does not want that taken away from him. For anyone forgetting, Hector killed Max, his partner, so there's super bad blood there. And this was super satisfying of a scene to show how far Gus will go. So we see Jimmy's up early, making breakfast, orange juice, tie is on, he's ready for his interviews in the day, and he's super motivated. And as an audience, you're wondering, what is he really motivated for? We know he wouldn't be that excited to go on to just do interviews for a sales job. So right there, you know something's up. Jimmy's always got a plan. He just never shows it. And Kim's like, you know, you can take some time off. No one will be mad at you. Again, Kim is always the sensible one, living a more realistic life. But that's not how Jimmy rolls. And again, he's just lying to her face. Like, again, this scene just shows how good Jimmy is at doing that to everybody, even the people that are close to him. So then Nacho goes to his dad's shop and tells him it's over. And the dad's like, when's it over for you? So the dad's clearly relieved that he's not being hunted down by Hector, but he's clearly concerned still about Nacho and him being stuck in this life. And Nacho's like, I'm working on it. What's interesting here, too, is Nacho's sort of lying, too. It's not totally taken care of. He knows Hector's not dead. But this story was really effective with Nacho and his father. It shows, again, how being involved in this drug world, it's always going to affect your family, whether you like it or not. So we see Jimmy go to his first interview at Neff Copiers. And I love how Jimmy uses his background in working in a mailroom to how he would be qualified for a job in sales for copiers. So right away, Jimmy takes notice of their little trophy shelf and takes interest in a statue of a little boy. And the boss refers to it as the Wall of Crap. And he's like, I need to drag that stuff to the dumpster. So again, this show doesn't show you anything just to do it. It's clearly a reason that he's looking at that. And then you're like, okay, what is Jimmy's plan here? Already getting hints. Why is he taking interest in that? And looking back at it, going to the end when Jimmy looks and sees how much these statues are going for this little boy, this boss was ready to just throw that stuff out. And what I loved about this scene is how Jimmy so convincingly shows that being a lawyer is technically being a salesman. That you're always persuading, convincing judges, convincing clients. You're always selling, selling, selling. So they tell him, they'll let him know, we'll hear from you in a week. They clearly like him, but he turns around. And he super sells himself. And he's telling them he wants to start right away. It would save the company costs. And I love Bob Odenkirk in scenes like this. This is Saul Goodman's realm here. And he's pointing to the copy machine. He's like, that is a healthy machine. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And he's like, that's a healthy business. Ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. And they love this presentation he does. And they say they'll take him now. And all of a sudden he flips a switch and he's like, but you don't know me. I just came off the street. No background check. I love the line where he's like, you guys are like a bunch of cats seeing a shiny object. And then he's like, I could be a serial killer. I could want to pee in your coffee pot or both. And then he just shakes this off and goes off to his next interview. So was this whole plan of Jimmy's just to see that item? Or was it just he did that because it was also for him to see how well he can still convince people so quickly and gain their trust? Or was he just legit mad at how easy those guys were to convince and doesn't want to work for people like that? Let me know what you guys thought of that, because I did find it a little confusing why he exactly flipped that fast. So then Mike goes to meet Lydia, and she doesn't understand why he stole the employee badge and interfered with the day-to-day operations of Madrigal. And Mike's like, if I show my face in your warehouse, it makes for a better cover story. It puts a face to the one cashing the checks. And he has this great line where he's like, plus you had a few things that needed correcting, so consider it a bonus. Mike is a bad, bad man, and he has some of the best lines. And this was an instant classic. So it's a great contrast you have with these two people here, where Lydia believes this raises the threat of exposing the money laundering that's going on. But Mike believes it lowers the threat. And he shares he has 7 more terminals to go. She's like, if I asked you to reconsider, he says, I'd ask you to do the same. It's nice seeing the different takes here, and this rubs Lydia completely the wrong way. And then later on we see a scene where Lydia calls Gus, freaking out. I forgot how worrisome Lydia is and how panicky she is. Freaking out over Mike. And the scene shows you how her paranoia is such a contrast to Gus's smoothness. And she's like, I don't want to worry about him stealing my employees' badges. And then Gus just says a great line, then I suggest you get the man a badge. Key thing is Gus knows that Mike is responsible and can trust him and just lets him do whatever he has to do to get the job done. And Lydia always wants to fear. She's a control freak, wants everything done her way. This scene to me highlighted and showed how good Gus is at his job compared to someone like Lydia. So we see the notorious cousins in the hospital visiting Hector, and they are Hector's nephews. So then a doctor from Johns Hopkins arrives to take over. We gotta assume, right, that Gus sent her. He referenced Johns Hopkins earlier in the episode, and that was the best doctors. So she wants to rewire the parts of the brain that get damaged from a stroke. And she's clearly a more advanced doctor here, and Gus wants to get Hector in standing order so he can take care of him his way. So the doctor tells Nacho, who appears, and the cousins to speak to him. It will help him. And this was a hysterical scene, seeing these guys awkwardly have to, like, try to just make small talk with Hector while he's basically out of it. And I love Michael Mando's acting here, the actor who plays Nacho, when he has to say the line, "You're gonna be stronger than ever," to Hector. And you can just see the pain in his face having to say this to the man who's single-handedly ruined his life. And it's got to kill him inside that this guy is not dead in front of him. He just did not complete the task. And it stings knowing he's somewhat helping him survive in that moment by talking to him. So solid writing and acting there. And then one of Gus's men comes and gives Gus an update in his office about Hector, and I love Giancarlo Esposito's acting here, the actor of Gus, with his hand just shaking at the thought of just Hector. So his anger towards this man is ferocious. He's just good at in public hiding it. So then Kim meets with Hamlin and Rebecca, and we learn that Rebecca has rights to Chuck's house and that Hamlin's going to liquidate it. Hamlin offers to Kim for Jimmy to take whatever he wants from the house. And she's like, Jimmy doesn't want any of it. And then she repeats it again when he asks again, and it's just like, no. And then he hands Kim the envelope with the money given to Jimmy. We find out it's $5,000. And Kim explains, that's the amount you give when you want to have someone cut out of a will, not have it contested. So it's funny to see a man, Chuck, how his whole will was orchestrated as a lawyer. He knows every little trick in the book. And it obviously still is all painted against Jimmy. So even in death, he screws Jimmy over. And then Hamlin also offers that Jimmy is allowed to be a member of a scholarship committee, and that there's a letter for Jimmy's eyes only from Chuck. Very juicy. I wonder what that could say. So that was a little nice thing to throw in there for Kim and Jimmy to have drama over. And this becomes Ray Seehorn's best scene in the show to date. She is coming for that overdue Emmy. I mean, her acting in this scene blew me away. And she lets Hamlin have it about telling Jimmy right after his brother died that he thinks Chuck killed himself. And Hamlin's like, I thought I owed it to him. And then Kim's just like, did you owe it to Rebecca? Did you tell her your theory? And he's like, I didn't hurt. And Hamlin's like, I didn't do it to hurt Jimmy. And she's like, no, you did it to make yourself feel better and to unload your guilt. And I love when she screams fair and is just snapping at him for everything, and how Hamlin and Chuck have treated Jimmy, and how they would treat him after Chuck died. And she says an important line. She's like, what's in this envelope? One last screw you to your little brother from beyond the grave. It really is sad here because Kim is so right, but this is also ironic. She's so right from her perspective, but unfortunately she doesn't know what Jimmy really did with the insurance to Chuck, and that Hamlin's instinct here is actually correct, that Chuck would kill himself. This really shows how perspective in life is everyone's true reality, and that Jimmy's lies will eventually make Kim look bad because she's now standing up for him fully, supporting her man, and she doesn't see how he's actually hurting her behind a mask, all in the background. So poor Kim. Like I said though, Kim's the best. This is why I love her, and she's my favorite character. I would even love a Kim Wexler show, and I don't care what you say, hands down this was her best scene yet, and hands down Ray Seehorn's best scene acting. And shout out to the writers. This is as good as it gets writing wise. This is why you gotta love shows created by Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. I mean, they never jip you. There's no jumping the shark. There's no cheese. There's no rolling your eyes. They make you think about themes no other stuff does. And for me, it was really showing how everyone's got their own perspective about stuff and how we all act in it. And how there's so much missing to everyone's story that you just don't know that's happening. So, fascinating stuff here. So we see Kim back at the house does not give Jimmy the letter. She thinks about it, but then she puts it away in storage. She's protecting Jimmy, which is probably the right thing to do. And then it's just Jimmy lying about his day to Kim again. And she does too. She doesn't mention the whole thing that happened with Hamlin. But this is showing you the difference, where this is something justifiable that you would lie to somebody about, avoiding them from getting hurt. It's something that they don't necessarily need to know, which to me should highlight the differences in their characters. Where Jimmy lies about stuff you shouldn't be lying about, and that will directly hurt them in the end. So Jimmy sees the Bavarian boy figure is worth a ton of money, and he's clearly now calling Mike and knows Mike can steal this stuff and they can have a new job here where they make a lot of money. So that's setting something up very interesting between the two of them. And like I've said, I'm excited for them to get back together and work together, because I think that's when the show's at its best, is when Mike's story and Jimmy's story comes together and in sync. And then we get an insane, intense last scene. Nacho and his partner go to pick up drugs from Gus's people, and they're offering one short than the usual. Gus is already putting his foot down to Salamakia here by doing that. And Gus's man's like, your boss isn't giving orders. He can barely open his eyes right now. And then Nacho clicks that gun on, and then my blood was pumping. The music comes in perfect timing. This gets so edge of your seat. And he gets him to put 6 on the table. But you know Gus isn't going to let him off that easy. And then Gus comes out and does the coolest suffocation of someone I've ever seen in a show. Wrapping that bag and tying it up over Nacho's partner's head. And Gus says to Nacho, I know what you have done. The Salamakias, they do not. Do you understand what I'm saying? This has got to be Gus's best moment in Saul yet. And he goes, look at me, from now you are mine. Such a villain move. And Giancarlo Esposito has not lost a touch on this character. And the music here was epic. It was so intense. And it cuts out with this guy suffocating. Incredible. It felt so Breaking Bad. And remember, if you're confused about how Gus knows what Nacho did, one of Gus's guys saw Nacho throw those pills off the bridge last week, because Nacho's an idiot just throwing those pills out in the open for anyone to see. This was a killer episode. Top-notch writing in the Jimmy Sales scene. Top-notch writing in the Lydia Mike scene. Top-notch writing in the Nacho Gus scene. And the standout scene of the episode for me, and that I'll always remember, maybe ever in a show, was this Kim laying it on Hamlin. This was so earned and built up for 3 seasons now, and she completely let it out. And it was awesome. This show is on a roll. This has to be the best season so far. First 2 episodes wise, it is moving. All of the slow burn of the first seasons is now getting its huge payoff, and it's bringing us glorious rewards for that. Here we go. I'm so pumped for where this season is going, and you could feel the Breaking Bad connection not far away. I cannot wait. I'm giving this episode a 9.5. It was great. One of the best Better Call Saul episodes for sure. Let me know what you thought down below. Do you agree, disagree? What is your rating of the episode? Any thoughts you have? Any theories? Let me know. Please subscribe to my channel. My review of Better Call Saul gets posted right after each episode airs, so you don't want to miss one. Follow me at SteveVarley1 on Twitter and Instagram for more of me, and I'll see you next time.